This is the rare marvelous spatulatail hummingbird, known in the scientific community as Loddigesia mirabilis. Found in the Peruvian Andes, this hummingbird prefers shrubbery in a humid montane forest. The length of their bodies measure a little less than 3 inches long. Considering how rare and remote this bird is, there is still much to learn about its predators, distribution, and food sources. Competition occurs within the spatulatail population themselves, along with other outside hummingbird species that share resources. Something that other hummingbirds cannot compete with is the spatulatail's tail. The males of the species only have 4 tail feathers. 2 of those feathers extend out longer than the others. Most notable feature of these longer tail feathers is the paddle-shaped feather called rackets at the tips. In these hummingbirds, we can see that the tail feathers as a sexually dimorphic trait, as they are only present in the males. The females and juveniles have much less extreme tail feather features. Male spatulatails use their uniquely designed tail feathers in a complex dance to attract potential mates. To find mating partners, male spatulatails gather in leks. These gathering places are not resource dependent and are usually lacking in such. The spatulatail mating display showcases the length and movement of the lengthened tail feathers. The male will fly around a female while moving the rackets to the sides of his body and extending his beak up to show off the bright blue or green feather collar on his neck. Spatulatails have highly specialized tails in order to be able to intricately move the rackets. The 2 wires holding the rackets, or retrix, labeled as R5 in the diagram, have bulbous ends that are held in large sockets. The sockets are surrounded with tail muscles and tendons. This allows for movement up, down, and tilted. The other 2 feathers are called central ventral major tail covert, labeled as CVC. These feathers move together and are closely tied with movement of the tail skeleton. The rackets, or restices, are able to move independently of the CVC. In the avian world, tail feathers are extremely important, highly adapted features that assist birds in flight. Tail feathers commonly assist aerial movement such as turning and provide stability and balance in the air. When a bird is in flight, there is a large amount of pressure on both the underside and top of the bird. Increased mass or changes in mass distribution will change the amount of lift or drag a bird will experience. Many hummingbirds defend resources from other individuals. This is made particularly challenging for male spatulatails because of the aerodynamically limiting racket tail feathers. Birds with longer tails require more energy to work their muscles to support themselves in the air. This means that they will have a harder time obtaining and protecting essential resources they need to maintain energy for other activities like finding a mate. Only 2 other hummingbird species have rackets, but the spatulatail has the longest proportionally. The booted racket tail and the racket-tipped thorntail have similar rackets at the end of their tails to the spatulatail, but the lengths of these feathers are vastly different. Why would these features be so desirable if they seem to inhibit the survival capability of future offspring? Well, these traits are typically a good indicator that a male is a strong individual. This is the handicap principle. If the male is able to survive a trait that is hindering, then he is showing that he must have good genes or something going for him. Especially since there are other forms of selection that play a role. For instance, if the tail gets too long, their survival chances are very slim. This is natural selection at play. When selection for specific sexual dimorphic traits becomes extreme, in other words, runaway selection, tail feathers can become a limiting trait. This kind of selection is seen in other birds too. Here are some other male birds that have large features that exhibit runaway selection like the spatulatails do. Learning more about these species and species like them can give us a lot of insight into evolution and selection. By showcasing rare species, we can show that there can be more effort put into conserving species that are already at high risk. Thank you for watching.